At this point in time, we'll have House Bill 1254. Since I'm the prime sponsor on that, I'm going to give the gavel to Vice Chair Gosh, and you have it.
Thank you, Representative Hunt. First bill before the committee is House Bill 1254, an act entitled to revise certain provisions pertaining to the decision of a pregnant mother considering termination of a relationship with her child by an abortion, to establish certain procedures to ensure that such decisions are voluntary, uncoerced, and informed, and to revise certain causes of action for professional negligence relating to performance of an abortion. At this time, we'll take proponent testimony on House Bill 1254. Welcome, Representative Hunt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the committee. If I might, Mr. Chairman, in the interest of being able to talk to everything at the same time, I do have a short amendment to House Bill 1254, and if I could, in my remarks, address both the primary bill and this amendment.
Absolutely. And do you have that ready for the pages to hand out? If we get a page to come up here and pass out those amendments, please. Go ahead, Representative. I think we all have the amendment in front of us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The amendment just makes two changes to the bill. The first part of the amendment makes a correction. We had a reference to a South Dakota Code citation, and that citation should actually have been to Section 8 of the existing bill. And on page 11, we're asking to insert the words knowingly and intentionally, and as you insert those words in that line 10 on page 11, what we are trying to do, since that section 9 on page 11, deals with a criminal penalty. This is these words are needed in order to show the proper element of intent for improperly releasing information and breaching of confidentiality. So in essence, what that portion of the amendment would do would be to say any person who knowingly and intentionally releases any information. That again is on line 10 of page 11. House Bill 1254 is what we customarily refer to in these chambers as cleanup legislation. It refers to House Bill, to the legislation that was enacted by House Bill 1217 last year. As you know, we frequently will pick up legislation that has passed the year before and make some changes to it in order to reflect the intent and the meaning of the legislature. We saw that relative to the trust legislation that we looked at here earlier this year. We make changes periodically to the UCC. We've made changes to a number of crimes, the sexual offender area. We frequently are working in that and tweaking that area, as you're all fully aware. There are two basic parts to 1254. One part deals with risk factors, and what we are doing in 1254 is helping to clarify and express the meaning of the legislature relative to risk factors. On page 2 of the bill, in existing law, you will see the definition of risk factor, and you'll see that for about a page and a half, the current definition of risk factor and complications associated with abortion are being eliminated. Now again, To put this back in context, the risk factor are the potential problems that a woman can experience as a result of an abortion. And in 1217, we required that any doctor performing an abortion provide the woman with risk factors associated with that abortion. And what we have done in deleting the risk factor definition on page 2 is to attempt to clarify this risk factor area. And in particular, we have replaced the risk factor information on page 2 with the provisions on page 5, which basically requires that the doctor conducting the assessment of the pregnant mother's health identify or look at, consider, collect information concerning these risk factors. And the risk factors are set out there as being coercion, pressure from others to have an abortion, and on down the line. It's felt that identifying the risk factors in this way actually help to clarify what is meant by risk factors. The original definition of risk factors basically says that if there is a risk factor that's been proposed in a medical journal, that risk factor should be made known to the woman. Well, there are a lot of course, medical journals, and we feel that the listing of the risk factors as we have there on page 5 helps to have the abortion doctor, all the people involved in this process, better advised as to just exactly what the intent of the legislature is or was in identifying those particular risk factors. The second major part of this bill deals with requiring a licensed counselor on the staff of a pregnancy health center. And, for example, it would require that there be available on staff or pursuant to a collaborative agreement a licensed counselor or a licensed psychologist or a licensed certified social worker or a licensed nurse or a licensed marriage and family therapist or a physician. During the final debate on 1217, there was some questions about the qualification of counselors in pregnancy help centers. And as a result of that dialogue, there was a comment made that we may need to look at that in future legislation. Well, over the last year, we have looked at that and have, as a result, brought this particular language that requires any pregnancy help center that is desirous of being on the registry of pregnancy help centers as kept by the Department of Health to basically have or have on staff or have by collaborative agreement access to a licensed counselor in one or more of these categories. For your general information, we have 3 pregnancy help centers that have registered with the Department of Health. One is in Spearfish, one is in Rapid City, and one is in Sioux Falls. And any existing pregnancy help centers that have registered with the Department of Health and any that may register in the future would be required to have a licensed counselor. This is a counselor who basically meets with the woman and in privacy and counsels her, obviously listens to what she has to say, and that's where the counselor is primarily required under the terms of this bill. But by testimony that will be given by a couple of individuals following me, these licensed counselors can provide even greater benefits across the board that the other proponents will give testimony to. At this point in time, Mr. Chairman, I would stand by for any questions that the committee may have, and just note that we have several other proponents who wish to give testimony at this time.
Thank you, Representative Hunt. And at this time, I see we have both pages in the room. Could you come forward and introduce yourselves, tell us your name and where you're from?
Jessica Lentz, I'm from Oneida, South Dakota, and I'm a senior at Slave Buttes High School.
Andy Weber from Britain, and I'm also a senior at Britain Hecla High School.
Thank you, and thank you for all you do for us here in committee and on the House floor and everything else. At this time, we're going to take further proponent testimony. Are there any further proponents of House Bill 1254? Thank you. Come forward and tell us your name, and if you represent yourself or an agency, and if you're an agency, of course, you have to have a lobbyist badge.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, good morning. It is a pleasure and a privilege to be here.
Could you state your name again,
My name is Dr.
please?
Patty Giebink.
Dr. Patty?
Dr. Patty Giebink.
Giebink, thank you.
Some of you already know my story, but I would also like to welcome the first-year student doctors from my alma mater, the University of South Dakota School of Medicine. Some of them are here today. As I said, my name is Dr. Patty Giebink. I'm a medical doctor. I'm board certified in obstetrics and gynecology and licensed in the state of South Dakota and Missouri. I'm here representing myself. I grew up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and I now live in Chamberlain. My position is unique in that I have served at both Planned Parenthood and at the Alpha Center in Sioux Falls. As far as I know, I'm the last South Dakota doctor to live in South Dakota and work at Planned Parenthood doing abortions in Sioux Falls. So I speak from actual experience. The last few years, I've been helping at the Alpha Center in Sioux Falls. My passion is women's health care. I believe women should make decisions based on all the available facts from qualified, licensed counselors. I believe women should be treated with respect and compassion. Abortion is permanent and irreversible and has risks and consequences. Planned Parenthood, as I know, operates on the assumption that women have already made up their mind by the time they arrive at the clinic, and therefore complete counseling is really not necessary. From my experience, this is not the case, and many young women are processed through the abortion procedure without true counseling. House Bill 1254 helps to clarify the risks and benefits, or the risks and consequences, and better convey the original intent of the legislature, which is to protect women from making a hurried decision, possibly under the pressure from others. Women want and deserve balanced information given with compassion and concern for their welfare. This is what pregnancy help centers provide in a non-threatening environment. This is what is missing in the current abortion clinics. I urge you to vote yes on House Bill 1254. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Giebink. Any further proponents on House Bill 1254?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and honorable members of the committee. My name is Stacy Woolman, and for the last 7 years, I've had the honor of serving as the CEO of CareNet Pregnancy Resource Center, a 501c3 organization registered in the state of South Dakota. I have traveled from Rapid City to personally ask each of you to vote yes on House Bill 1254. CareNet Pregnancy Resource Center has been serving the needs of women and their families facing unplanned pregnancies for over 27 years in Rapid City. We operate under the direction of a local board of directors and have several local individuals, businesses, and churches that financially support our work. We do not receive any state or federal money to provide our valuable free services. Our center is a registered affiliate with several national organizations who continually allow our staff and volunteers to provide the best standard of care and services for our clients. These organizations include CareNet, NIFLA, Option Line, National Fatherhood Initiative, Association of Christian Counselors, Christian Leadership Alliance, and 211 of South Dakota. I personally have a degree from Black Hills State University, a double major in human services and sociology, with additional training in crisis intervention, suicide prevention, abortion recovery and support, fundraising development, and administration. Our medical director is a licensed OBGYN in the state of South Dakota. Our nurse manager is a licensed registered nurse with over 30 years of experience in women's health care, and she oversees 4 volunteer RNs, and our combined nursing experience in our center is over 108 years. Our registrations and licenses are well within the industry standards for the limited medical services and free services we provide to the women of our community. We have 4 paid staff members and over 30 volunteers who work diligently to provide quality caring services to the women and men we serve. We provide the valuable services of free pregnancy testing, ultrasound confirmations of pregnancy, parenting classes, fatherhood workshops, post-abortion healing and support, material assistance in the form of maternity clothes, baby clothing items, diapers, and referrals to community resources. The heart and passion of everyone in our organization with everything we do is to provide women and men with excellent services. HB 1254 affirms the care we give by stating that each referred client will have excellent services under this law. And by providing them through a licensed professional, this affirms that excellent care. Women who are being coerced into having an abortion need compassionate, skilled intervention to help them through that emotional, confusing state of crisis into the coping state. Women are coerced to have abortions by people and through circumstances. One of my abortion recovery clients from South Dakota was forced by her affluent parents, her senior year in high school, this was 16 years ago, to have an abortion or be cut off from the family resources and no college funding. She proceeded with the abortion. When she became pregnant again 2 years later in college, she chose life for her child, and her parents completely cut her off from college funding and family support, and they have no relationship. Each client that comes into our center is given a copy of our promises to serve you and our commitment to provide professional, competent services. They each sign a request for services, and on that request it states that we are a Christian ministry, and it also states that we do not perform or refer for abortions. Each client is given a notice of our privacy practices and how we guard their private, confidential information and health information. We have great working relationships in our community. County and state organizations refer to us, and we send out referrals, and we accept their referrals. Again, it's our hearts to provide excellent services that provide accurate, clear, and concise information so that each client has an opportunity to make a fully informed decision. Our clients are encouraged to fill out exit interviews after each visit. These comments regarding our center visits are overwhelmingly supportive, stating our environment is inviting, warm, compassionate, and caring. They are very satisfied with our services and willing to recommend their friends to come in and receive services if they're facing an unplanned or problem pregnancy. Again, I urge you to vote yes on this bill, and I want to personally thank you for your commitment, your sacrifice, and for serving here and serving the great people of our state in South Dakota. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Woolman. Further proponents?
Good morning, Chairman Gosch and members of the judiciary. My name is Arlene Cook. I live in Crook, South Dakota. I am here today speaking for myself. I have a master's degree in guidance and counseling. I've had 8 years' experience at a pregnancy health center as a counselor and also facilitating one of the services we offer, which is parenting class. I would like to emphasize the positiveness of counseling and show some of the benefits. The pregnancy health Pregnancy Health Center has been around 29 years. The Alpha Center has been offering parenting class since 1986, and I have been doing the parenting class since 2003, every Thursday evening from 7 to 8 p.m. We have up to 20-plus parents, and we stand by our clients and we support them. Recently, one of the dads in the parenting class shared with us that through Alpha Center, with one of our recent male speakers at the class, had given him hope. He said He said he'd had no confidence. He had no confidence to be a dad, and now he was excited to have hope. He had gotten a good job, and he has confidence. We have doctors, nurses, psychologists who volunteer their time as counselors or as speakers for the parenting class. We have a psychologist coming Thursday evening. That's tomorrow evening. She'll be speaking on the Baby Owner's Manual. Dr. Glenn Ritter, who is our medical director, discusses emergency and other baby wellness items with our parents. We have lactation counselors from Sanford and Avera hospitals in Sioux Falls, as well as labor and delivery nurses. Our staff and our volunteers, as I said, are licensed nurses, some with masters and even doctorates, who are there to meet the needs of our clients at the center. These counselors are available to meet privately with our clients and maintain confidentiality as the law requires. I recommend that you pass this bill, House Bill 1254. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cook. Further proponents, by show of hands maybe, how many more do we have for proponents? One more? Two more? Okay, and try to keep your testimony to either a Me Too or new information for the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, and thank you, members of the committee. My name is Linda Johnson. I am the registered lobbyist for South Dakota Right to Life. South Dakota Right to Life strongly endorses House Bill 1254 in asking women to access a different source of information and counseling involving abortion. We protect South Dakotans from biased counseling and misinformation. South Dakota recognizes the good work of pregnancy help centers this morning. Pregnancy help centers are a free second opinion for those who are making a serious decision. Numerous investigations have revealed the misinformation, staffing challenges, and general coercive atmospheres of abortion facilities. South Dakota has dealt with our own problems concerning the upholding of laws in abortion facilities. As recently as August 7, 2009, the abortion center in Sioux Falls was not following the law that required it to inform women that the abortion will destroy the life of their unborn child. Rather than following the rule of law, Planned Parenthood, representing South Dakota's sole abortion clinic, tried unsuccessfully to get an injunction placed on the law in order to avoid adhering to those concerns set forth by the state. Abortion services were temporarily suspended due to the fact that the flown-in abortionists refused to comply with the new informed consent law. On July 21, 2009, when 8 women showed up to the abortion clinic to find that the doors were locked, they then saw the clinic close, set out on their own to seek other counseling. These 2 incidents highlight the importance of implementing House Bill 1254 in 2 ways. First of all, Planned Parenthood in South Dakota has a track record of disregarding the law whenever it is deemed convenient for their interests and does not willingly comply with the state's interest when involving the humanity of the unborn and the concerns of coercion dealing with women seeking abortions. Secondly, that same week, in July of 2009, several of the women who were met with those locked doors upon their arrival at the abortion clinic, as I mentioned, in Sioux Falls, reportedly end up going to various pregnancy help centers for assistance, showing that women will seek other alternatives when they are seeking or looking at abortion. And when those other alternatives are offered to them, they often change their mind. House Bill 1254 addresses both of these concerns by providing documentation that Planned Parenthood is providing services in compliance with the South Dakota law and that the women are given information about potential alternatives to abortion. We urge your support today. House Bill 1254. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Further proponents on House Bill 1254.
morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Linda Schauer, and I'm the State Director for Concerned Women for America. We just want to be on record as supporting HB 1254. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Schauer. Further proponents on House Bill 1254? I did see a hand in the back earlier. Is that hand being withdrawn, or here we go? Pastor Dale Barcher, welcome. I know you want to go on the record here.
Yes, I want to go on the record. Mr. Chair, committee members, Dale Barcher, Executive Director of the Family Heritage Alliance Action of South Dakota. We'd respectfully ask your yes vote on 1254. Thank you.
Thank you. Further proponents?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Travis Benson, lobbyist for the Catholic Diocese of Sioux Falls, we also support. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, and thank you for your brevity. Further proponents on House Bill 1254? Seeing none. Any opponents on House Bill 1254?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Alicia Sedor, and I am the Executive Director of NARAL Pro-Choice South Dakota. I'm here today to testify on behalf of our members and our belief that all individuals seeking health care services should receive comprehensive, unbiased, medically and factually accurate information from the health care provider of their choice. I'm speaking in opposition to House Bill 1254, which amends a law that's currently enjoined pending litigation. Proponents claim that it mitigates some of the legal concerns, but House Bill 1254 remains an egregious affront to women's health. I urge you to oppose House Bill 1254. This bill intrudes upon South Dakotans' right to select the medical care they receive without government interference. This bill does not protect women and their families, and in fact can pose a significant threat to accessing safe health care services. I think everyone pro-choice and anti-abortion can agree that no patient should be misled or coerced when seeking information about their health care options. Yet this core principle of medical counseling is exactly what House Bill 1254 would upend. This bill eliminates one list of unfounded risk factors and replaces them with another that is equally troublesome. No medical basis for these risk factors is provided, nor is there guidance on how such an evaluation may occur. They also mandate that the physician engage women in a conversation about their personal and religious values, a conversation that is neither medically necessary nor medically relevant. Medical decisions are the most private of all decisions, and who you discuss them with should be solely your choice. We expect our physicians to discuss the full range of options that could have an impact on our distinct healthcare needs so that we can reach the medical decision that is right for us. We may seek counsel from a loved one, trusted friend, or religious counselor, as well as our doctor, and decide which treatment is best for us. It is outrageous for the government to insert itself into this discussion and force women against their will to participate in a process that is not medically necessary. The women of South Dakota are capable of deciding how, when, and with whom to discuss their pregnancies. It is a disservice to them to legislate who they must consult about their medical decisions. House Bill 1254 would force women considering abortion care to submit to an in-person lecture from a counselor at an ideologically driven facility, a so-called pregnancy help center or crisis pregnancy center, even if she does not want to involve an outside party in her decision-making. While some pregnancy help centers may provide appropriate support and information to women facing unintended pregnancies, sadly, several reports indicate that many of these centers intentionally mislead or even coerce women who go to them seeking comprehensive pregnancy-related services. Some centers may force women seeking objective healthcare information to watch anti-abortion films, slideshows, and see photographs, and some may also refuse to provide information about or referrals for birth control. To be clear, we have no objection to a center that offers women who have decided to carry their pregnancies to term any assistance that they may need. If a woman seeks counseling at a crisis pregnancy center with full awareness of its anti-abortion agenda, that is entirely her choice. But the problem remains, even as amended, that House Bill 1254 is forcing a woman to submit to counseling by these facilities, whether she wants to involve an outside party or not. I'd also like to emphasize that these amendments make even clearer that a woman must meet with the same physician who will perform her abortion procedure 72 hours prior. South Dakota is the first state in the nation to apply an extreme 72-hour mandatory delay to abortion care. Coupled with the required visit to a crisis pregnancy center, this bill's mandates amount to 3 separate in-person requirements, which impose a severe burden on women who will be forced to arrange for time off of work or school, childcare, transportation, and in some cases, overnight stays. This waiting period reinforces the erroneous suggestion that women do not think carefully about their health care and are unable to make responsible decisions without government interference. House Bill 1254 mounts multiple ideologically driven attacks on a woman's right to make her own health care decisions. I urge you to vote against this legislation and reject the demeaning implication that women cannot make responsible decisions about their reproductive health care without government interference. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Sidor. Did I pronounce that right? Sidor? Okay. Any further opponents on House Bill 1254? Any further opponents?
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Mitch Richter. I'm a contract lobbyist with the South Dakota Advocacy Network for Women. I won't go over the testimony that Alicia just gave you. We would be in agreement with everything that she had said. This issue has been around just about every year, and the arguments that she gave show up every year, and they're not listened to every year, and so I won't go over those. I will point out one of the inconsistencies in the bill that we thought was in 1217 last year. We still think it's an inconsistency today, and that is on the top of page 5, section B, where it says the physician shall get the written statement from the consultation of the pregnancy center. And then you flip back to page 9, section 3, it says the pregnancy help center is under no obligation to communicate with the abortion provider and no obligation to submit any written or other form of confirmation of the pregnant mother consulted with the pregnancy help center. So we think that is in conflict. You're sending the pregnant mother to get counseling, and then the counselor is under no obligation to say that she was ever there. So we think that is in conflict. This bill was pitched last year as the perfect bill and had no amendments. We offered several amendments, and yet this year it comes back. The 24 women's groups that I represent feel that it is wrong to put others between themselves and their medical provider, and we'd urge you to send 1254 to the 41st day.
Thank you, Mr. Richter. Any further opponents on House Bill 1254? Any further opponents? Seeing none, I'll give Representative Hunt a chance for rebuttal. I'm sure he'll address that asserted discrepancy in page 5 and page 9.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. On page 5, what the prior speaker was referring to reads as follows: that prior to signing a consent to an abortion, the physician shall first obtain from the pregnant mother a written statement that she obtained a consultation with a pregnancy help center, which sets forth the name and the address of the pregnancy help center, the date and the time of the consultation, and the name of the counselor at the Pregnancy Help Center with whom she has consulted. I simply want to point out that the abortion doctor has to obtain that information from the pregnant mother. It says nothing there about whether the Pregnancy Help Center has to provide it or doesn't have to provide it. There is no inconsistency. There may be a perceived one, but if you read the language carefully, there is not. I would just make 2 or 3 final comments, Mr. Chairman. One, many of the issues that the opponents raised, were in Bill 1217 and have been settled. But this amendment just seeks to do cleanup like we do so frequently here in the legislature, and it addresses just 2 things to make it easier to understand what risk factors are. There was a question about the risk factors and whether or not there was any medical testimony to support it. And again, on page 5, I'd simply point out things that you and I even would recognize as being risk factors. For example, coercion, conflict, high degree of decisional distress, commitment to the pregnancy, medical history. Those are basic things from which you're going to get indications that there could be risk factors for the pregnant woman. I would also say that I have spoken with and consulted with the Attorney General's office regarding this particular bill, and the obvious reason that they cannot be here is because there is a lawsuit involved at this point in time. So with that, I would stand by for any other questions that you might have.
Thank you, Representative Hunt. We'll now close the committee to the taking of public testimony, and we'll open it up to committee questions. Any questions from the committee? Representative Gibson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question for the sponsor of the bill, please.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Hunt, House Bill 1217 was purported to be a state-of-the-art, perfect pro-life bill, yet you're coming back to us with a 12-page amendment to fix this bill. Why, when the lay members of this committee are constantly being told by lawyers on the committee that it is bad public policy to interfere in matters currently under litigation, are we being asked to change all the rules in House Bill 1217 after the process has begun?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Gibson, let me answer your first question. I don't recall ever saying that 1217 was state-of-the-art. I don't recall ever saying it was a perfect bill. I think that as a practical matter, we all recognize there's probably no such thing in this legislative process as a perfect bill. With regards to your other comments, there is a ongoing lawsuit. I'll grant you that. But I think it's also important to balance against that particular fact, the fact that what this bill is seeking to do is to improve upon two important categories. Number one, the risk factor, and number two, to have licensed counselors. You heard testimony here today that those licensed counselors are providing great services and probably great protections to a lot of the women in this state. So are we to sit back because of a lawsuit and deprive the people of the state of South Dakota the opportunity to be protected by legislation like this? That's a balancing act, I will grant you. But I think it's most important to protect the lives of women, especially with post-abortion problems, difficulties, medical, psychological, physical problems. I think that is probably a great goal which we as representatives of the people of this state should aspire to do something to protect our people.
Thank you for wanting to protect women. However, I think this bill interferes with the rights of women. I can protect myself, and I think most of the women that I know and that live in this state can do the same. I want to ask you why in this bill the proponents argue that there is a need to protect pregnant women from pressure by individuals. Are we constantly being asked to establish the right of pregnancy centers to receive a state-sanctioned opportunity to coerce pregnant women, and mostly coerce pregnant women into not having abortions, when women maybe choose to have abortions? Why are you taking that right away from women in this bill and the women in the state of South Dakota?
Representative Hunt, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much. Representative Gibson, we are not taking a right away from the women. In fact, we are protecting them from that coercion. We know by affidavits, many of them taken in discovery proceedings, that there isn't any real information given women about the choices they have. When the husband or the boyfriend or the father is sitting in the outer waiting room of the Planned Parenthood clinic, that in and of itself can easily be construed as coercion, and we know from many, many affidavits of women who have gone through abortion, they have said they wouldn't have done it. They didn't want to do it, but they had family, they had parents, they had boyfriends that basically were coercing them. Coercion is a definite factor in all of this. It does exist. We can deny it, but it does exist.
We're going to go to the other side. We're going to allow some other people to ask questions. Representative Tarnow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A question for Mr. Richter.
Okay, Mr. Richter, come forward, please, if you would. Go ahead, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Richter, in your opposition testimony, you said that the same arguments have been made year after year, and they're not listened to. Could you point out to the committee what arguments have been made against pregnancy help centers and the utilization of pregnancy help centers year after year, and what arguments are not listened to?
Representative Torno, my comments were generally in the area of abortion legislation that comes before this body every year, and that is the idea that a woman can't decide on her own her own medical necessities, and that seems to be ignored in the legislation that comes forth every year.
Follow up? Okay. Any other questions by the committee?
Sure.
Representative Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question for Ms. Sedor. Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's a two-part question. One is just a clarifying question. Ma'am, could you explain for the folks that are listening that may not understand what NARAL is, could you explain that an acronym?
Sure. It's Mr. Chair, sorry. It's the National Abortion and Reproductive Rights Action League.
Okay. Follow-up question, sir.
Go ahead.
Ma'am, from your testimony and Mr. Lichter's testimony, are you folks claiming that there are no adverse physical or mental health issues related to abortions as a result of a woman receiving an abortion?
Ms. Sedor, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, my argument is that it's not the government's place to insert itself into that medical discussion, and that's best reserved for medical professionals.
Follow-up, sir?
Sure. Do you want to rephrase that question? Or?
Yes. I guess, do you acknowledge that there is adverse health issues and mental health issues that have been identified with patients or women or victims that have received abortions?
Mr. Chair, every individual is different in her medical health care decisions, and the effects, of any medical procedure can be different for each individual. So that you may experience those effects, but that's, the discussion is meant to be had between you and your physician.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Any further questions by the committee? Representative Gibson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Sedor, when reading this bill before us, Section 2 says that, it refers to the physician's duties. I purport that the physician's duties are so detailed and onerous in this section that no physician in his right mind would expose himself to the malpractice litigation over the part that deals with the counseling and psychological assessment minutiae that have nothing to do with surgery and medical science. Would you agree with that statement?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Yes, I would agree that the requirements are extensive and, again, likely not medically necessary.
Thank you. We're going to close the committee to the taking of questions by proponents, opponents, and open it up to committee discussion and or action.
Mr. Chair, I have an amendment.
Representative Gibson, state your motion.
I would like to move Amendment 1254RB.
Okay, has that been distributed?
It hasn't.
Pages. Would the pages come forward and distribute the motion? It was moved by Representative Gibson to amend House Bill 1254 with the amendment 1254RB. It was seconded by Representative Killer. Discussion on that motion, and maybe just give us a second to make sure we all have it in front of us.
I get one. Thank you.
Representative Gibson, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Basically, what this amendment does is it on page 3 of line 16 of the printed bill, after will, I want to insert the language that says, coercion also exists if the pregnant mother is induced to refrain from an abortion by any other person under circumstances or in such a manner which deprives her from making a free decision or exercising her free will. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Further discussion on the motion, Representative Nelson.
Yes, sir. I have a substitute motion.
Let's just have a little bit of, because I think we had some discussion on the motion. No further discussion. Okay, state your motion.
Yes, sir. I would make a substitute motion to move Amendment 125RA.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Correct. Good eye, sir.
Okay. State your motion again for clarity for the committee's purposes.
I would move the amendment for the printed bill 1254RA.
Okay. There's a motion by Representative Nelson, a substitute motion to amend House Bill 1254 with 1254RA. It's been seconded by Representative Hansen. Discussion on that motion, Representative Nelson.
I believe Representative, the primary sponsor, spoke to it, and I believe it's covered it. No further comment.
Any further discussion on the substitute motion? Seeing none, this will be a voice vote. Those in favor of the substitute motion to amend will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
No.
That motion passes. Back on the first motion to amend with House Bill, with Amendment 12. All right, my colleagues tell me the initial motion is no longer appropriate at this point. It would have to be removed. Any further discussion or action by the committee? Sure. Representative Nelson.
Sir, I would move due pass.
So we have a due pass motion by Representative Nelson, seconded by Representative Torno. Any discussion on that motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
As amended, yes.
Yes, sir, as amended. With your permission, sir. So I think the bill that the good representative brought before us today clears up some problems with House Bill 1217 from last year. While there's been some opposition to this, one of the things that folks in the opposition did not acknowledge for the good folks in South Dakota is the reason why the government is involved in this. There's another human being involved in this equation. That's another human life. We're not talking about just the health care of a single individual person. We're talking about the health care and the life of two people. Just like rape, abortions have long-lasting and lingering adverse health effects, both physically and mentally, to those that receive them. What kind of community, what kind of society would we be if we did not acknowledge that and try and help the folks that are put in these compromising positions? As a testimony we received last year, there was ample evidence that women were being brought to abortion clinics and coerced and forced into having abortions. Now, if these women were being coerced and forced into have sexual relations, that would be a criminal felony charge of rape. But in this case, they were being forced to have their child removed from their body. Now, I don't know of anybody with any common sense in this world that does not understand that will not have lasting physical and emotional trauma on the people that this occurs to. We as a law-abiding society have an obligation to do the best thing we possibly can for the health of the mother and the health of the child. So I would ask this good board to realize that this is a good bill, and I'd ask folks to please pass this onto the House floor. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Representative. Any further?
Mr. Chairman, substitute motion.
State your motion. Substitute motion for 1254RB, moved by Representative Gibson, seconded by Representative Killer.
I don't have. We don't. We didn't vote
Do you have any additional comments other than what you already made on that motion? Okay. This will be a voice vote again. All those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Nay. That motion fails. We are back on the do pass motion as amended in House Bill 1254. Any further comments by the committee? Seeing none, those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. Secretary will call the roll.
Representative Abdullah. Aye. Boomgarden. Aye. Feinstein. Gibson. No. Hanson.
Aye.
Killer.
No.
Kopp.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
Torno.
Aye.
Turbeville.
Aye.
Gosh.
Aye.
Hunt.
Aye.
That's 10 ayes and 2 nays. House Bill 1254 will go to the floor as amended with a do pass recommendation.